This is show number 1043. Thank you guys very much for joining me here, whether you're listening in to us live or whether you're listening in via the archive. However you tune into the show, thanks very much for tuning into the show. Some of you will right away notice a different camera angle. That's because my cinema display died. My 30-inch cinema display may be terminal. Our friend Brian Monroe in the IRC chat room has pointed out I should try a different adapter. There was a bit of a power issue last night, so maybe that's it. Hopefully, it's just the adapter has been fried. But it's been over 10 years with that machine and over 6 moves, so I'll be surprised. Power supply, Brian points out. Power supply, not power adapter. Thanks very much, Brian. So I'll be looking into one of those. On tonight's show, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about Apple Car rumors, and whether they're true or not, what his opinions of it are, and what my opinions of it are. What are your opinions of the Apple Car? Is it something you think is real? Do you think, as the rumors say, that in 2020, you'll be able to go down to your dealership or your Apple store or someplace and buy an Apple iCar, for lack of a better term, with an Apple logo on the hood of it or on the front of it? You think that's going to happen? You think you'll be able to buy an Apple car? And if so, what do you want to see in an Apple car? Yes, you're going to get 4 wheels. Yes, you're going to get a steering wheel. It'll be a sedan. There'll be a coupe version of it. There'll be a convertible version of it. Yeah. But what do you want to see tech-wise in an Apple car that you can't get today? That, to me, is the key. Apple's going to do something that you can't get today. For me, personally, I'd love a heads-up display. I'd love to see some kind of HUD on the screen, as I was saying during the pre-show, that gave speedometer readings, that gave warnings, that would tell you about red light cameras or speed traps or directions on the windshield. You have that big chunk of glass there that you're staring at, and anytime your eyes move away from that big chunk of glass, that's dangerous for whatever period of time that you're no longer looking through that big chunk of glass. I think that's where Apple's going. But what do you guys think? On air at yourmaclifeshow.com. Some of you may have heard about this Apple class action lawsuit that Apple was about to start fighting. Certain versions of MacBooks, MacBook Pros, 2011 15-inch, and other models had a very consistent, not necessarily widespread, but very consistent issue with the GPU on them. I had the issue back in a year ago, October. Had visual glitches, had video glitches on it. Took it into the Apple Store, and they replaced the logic board of it. In my research on it, I found lots and lots of people had the same problem, the exact same problem. I mean, we all described the issue the exact same way. We all had the exact same screenshots. We all saw the same problem. So this was a consistent problem. And the issue was, did Apple know about this, and did they do anything about it? And would they reimburse us the $600 or so that it cost to repair the logic board or replace the logic board? So interestingly enough, I was contacted about a month ago by a Canadian law firm asking me if I would be the named defendant in the Canadian portion of the lawsuit. And I said yes. I said I had no problem being the guy whose name you put forward. It wasn't going to cost me anything. I wasn't going to get anything from the lawyers. I wasn't going to get any extra money. But what I wanted to do was help these lawyers fight Apple on this, because one of the issues is after Apple discovered the problem, they didn't fix the problem. They downclocked, not overclocked, downclocked the CPU, because the problem seems to be a heat issue, either with the paste that Apple used for the GPU or the GPU itself. And then they changed some things in the internals in later models, but never went back to those folks who had already had the machines blowed up on them and offer a rebate or offer any sort of settlement for those folks. So I thought, yeah, I'm generally against a lot of these class action suits. A lot of them are just stupid and frivolous. But I didn't think this one was, and maybe that's because I was affected by it. So interestingly enough, as the lawyers were getting ready to, I think they were going to announce this Monday that Apple was that they were going to take this to court, and Shawn King in Canada was going to be the named defendant on behalf of all the other folks in Canada who were affected by this issue. Last week, was it Thursday? Apple stepped up finally and said, we're going to fix those machines free of charge, and we're going to reimburse those people who had already paid out of pocket for that fix. So the lawyers have dropped the suit. There's no reason to go forward because there's no pain and suffering. There's a little bit of hassle, but there's no real pain and suffering involved in all that kind of stuff. So the lawyers have dropped the suit. I called Apple on Friday and almost immediately got someone at Apple to say, yes, you're affected. Your serial number is one of the machines that are affected, and we'll refund you in full the money. The funny thing is, because of the banking system, is that they did a wire transfer on Friday. It's now Wednesday, and I ain't seen no damn money. This is an electronic wire transfer. It should take nanoseconds. They can. I've ranted about this before. The banks can take money out of your account like that, but putting it back in, that takes some time. That takes 15 business days. Oh, piss off. It doesn't take 15 business days to put money into my frickin' account. Take it out of Apple's account. They've got $180 billion. It's half an interest payment over the next 3 seconds. Done. Boom. Finished. So I'm waiting for that. Brian Monroe says, just wishes that it did not take a lawsuit to get the problem resolved. Yeah, that's frustrating for customers. That when Apple sees the problem, the responsible thing to do is see that many of your customers have the issue and go, oh, wow, okay, let's fix this. The problem is the bean counters say, let's not, because it'll cost us money. It'll cost us X numbers of thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Whereas if we just fix the problem without talking about it, we don't got to pay that money out. I think that's what happened with this lawsuit. Apple saw that they were going to lose. There was a lot of evidence. I saw some of the evidence that the lawyers had. There was a lot of evidence that Apple knew about the problem, made changes without telling customers. They didn't cover it up, but it was a well-known problem among tech guys at Apple. That when people brought these computers into the stores, they went, yeah, we know the problem. We'll fix it right away. Oh, no, we haven't seen it in any other place. They had. So that was part of the issue, was that Apple knew that the evidence was against it. Because, believe me, folks, if Apple thought they could win the lawsuit, they would have fought the lawsuit. That's the kind of company they are. They fight lawsuits all the time. And they win lawsuits all the time. They lose some, but they also win a bunch too. So if they thought they could win and save that money, because how many of those affected MacBooks do you think they sold over the last 4 years? Let's say 1 million. And let's say 10% of those people had problems. And let's say, so that's 1 million, 100,000 people. Let's say half of those had to get a logic board repaired. And for sake of argument, just because it's easier to do the math, 50,000, they paid $1,000 a piece. That $50 million? Which is, chump change to Apple. We think of it as chump change to Apple. But it's $50 million. So they just didn't want to pay that out. And, from a bean counter point of view, that makes sense. From a customer point of view, it's annoying and frustrating and aggravating. Doesn't happen a lot with Apple. It happens a lot with other companies. But when it does happen with Apple, it makes you go, come on, guys. You're supposed to be better than this. You're supposed to be, it would have been so much better if when Apple recognized the problem, they immediately, A, fixed the problem, and B, went back to those customers, and this would have been in 2013, went back to those customers and said, hey, we saw you had this problem. We fixed it for you, but our bad. Let us give you the money back. If they'd done that in 2013, there would have been no lawsuits. There would have been no stain, however minor, on their reputation. Just do the right thing. Don't be forced to do the right thing. Don't have lawyers get involved and get paid, both on Apple's side and on the law firm in Toronto, although they ain't making no money now anyway. Don't force the courts to get involved in doing the right thing, because it makes you kind of a little sleazy. A little sleazy. Apple is generally not a sleazy company. But every now and then there's, you just go, come on, guys. We expect better of Apple. I think that's part of it, too. If this had been Lenovo, for example, who are also in the news recently, or Toshiba or Compaq or whatever, you would have thought, this is what they do. They're sleazy assholes. We expect this kind of stuff. We expect better of Apple. We expect them to do the right thing. And most of the time they do. Brian Monroe, Apple is not supposed to be run by bean counters. Apple totally should have done the right thing. This is one of the good things about Apple having a metric ton of money. They can cover the cost internally for those repairs. Customer experience needs to be number one, Brian Monroe says. And it is, for the most part. For, I'd say 95% of Apple's customers are perfectly happy with their product. They don't have problems with their iPhone. They don't have problems with their iPad. They don't have problems with their iMac. Apple's customer satisfaction ratings across their product line is remarkable in the industry. Nobody comes close to Apple when it comes to the good feelings their customers have for their products. And as we've said before, it starts off with opening up an Apple product. Just opening one up, opening the box of one is just a magical experience. I've let friends who are PC users open up new iMacs and new laptops and new iPads. And they're blown away by the experience of opening the box. Not just using the device, but opening the freaking box is wonderful. And cool and clever and interesting. So the problem comes from our expectations of Apple not being met. Then they do meet them 95% of the time. Mosquito says, better angle on you in the wall tonight, Shawn. Looks good. Well, unfortunately, it's because you came in late. Unfortunately, it's because my Apple Cinema display may have gone to the great cinema display graveyard in the sky, or heaven, graveyard in the sky. So I'm stuck with just the 15-inch monitor, so it's looking straight at me. The problem is I can't get the YML stuff right. See that? I can't get that right behind me. But good news is I'm going to be moving again soon. So hopefully, not again, again, moving soon. So hopefully we'll have a more visual setup in the new place once I move. Later on the show, we'll be talking about shooting movement and how to shoot things with your camera that are moving, how to set your camera up and your body up. That's almost as important. And your body up to shoot movement. We're also going to be doing a review of the ldwest.com, of their very interesting ldwest.com holster for your iPhone and your wallet. It's kind of interesting. I'm wearing it now. For those folks who are wondering why Shawn's wearing suspenders, I'm not actually wearing suspenders. I'm wearing the LD West holster as we speak. We'll talk about that later on in the show. But up next, we're going to talk to our good friend, Jim Dalrymple. Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. I am Shawn King. In our phone room, we have our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
Doing good, Shawn. How are you?
I'm good. We talked this morning on Amplified about Apple Watch prices and the Apple Car. We'll talk a little bit more about it now after the wonderful discussion we had on Amplified this morning. Any further thoughts on Apple pricing? Do you think that is the $20,000 number that folks like Gruber have thrown out, do you really think that's that far out of the realm of possibility?
I don't.
Do you think that do you think it's likely?
I don't know. I'm kind of leaning more, 10, 15 range, but 20 is not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, you're talking about a solid gold watch.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was Gruber that said it or not. Maybe he just said it to me when we were talking about it one time. But, people who think that this, the expensive watch is going to be like $1,000 are out of their minds.
That's right.
They just don't get it. Apple's going to have a watch for $350, but this one, no, sir.
Yeah.
All the NBA players that have Beats headphones are going to be walking around with a gold Apple Watch.
And the thing is, people seem to be saying, well, the price of gold, it doesn't matter what the price of gold is. It's a complete moot point what the price of gold is. Like we said this morning, you can price out a Rolex, the cost of the build of a Rolex, and it will come out to, say, give them a number of $5,000. Yet that Rolex will cost $30,000.
Yeah.
It's not because that's what the intrinsic value of it is. It's because that's what people are willing to pay for it.
Exactly right.
And if Apple has figured out there's a number of people who will spend $20,000 on an Apple Watch, a gold Apple Watch, they literally would be stupid not to take the money from those idiots.
Well, I mean, if my lighter runs out of fluid and you have a match, I'll pay you $100 for that match to light smoke.
That's true.
That's no joke either.
Yeah, no kidding. I've been there, done that. Yeah, that's right. I will give you $1,000 for that ladder. That's right. But the other thing too is that people seem to believe that the Apple is going to sell, 100,000 gold watches in the first quarter. They're not. This is going to be a luxury item. Someone said that Apple is going to sell 1 million of these gold watches in a year. Rolex doesn't sell that many in a year. They sell about 500,000, 600,000 in a year.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to tell. There are a lot of rich people out there and a lot of people that can afford a gold Apple Watch.
Yep.
It's just a matter of whether they're going to buy them or not. They may. Maybe this, those same people, if you look, are probably using iPhones.
Mm.
So, they may very well go out and buy them just to have one.
I also think all this talk of replacement or trade-in or all that kind of stuff, I don't think that's going to happen either. I think people who are going to spend this kind of money on a watch in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time, will buy another watch. I don't think they're going to take it into Apple for replacement value or to have the guts taken out and replaced by something else. I can't see that happening. Can you?
Yeah, I mean, you never know what they've got up their sleeve.
No.
I think, you can't do that with an iPhone. You can't do it with an iPad or a Mac.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the people are hoping or they think that if they spend $350 that, they're going to be able to switch out the guts for life and have a new watch, and I don't see that happening.
Do you see any correlation between 2 months, April, the launch of the Apple Watch and the news of the latest Kickstarter from the folks at Pebble that they've it was the fastest ever to $1 million for a Kickstarter project for the Pebble Watch? Do you think there's any connection there?
Well, sure. I mean, people want Pebble to succeed, and good for them. That they're able to do that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have nothing against Pebble. I mean, I've seen the first iteration of the watches, and I've talked to some people that have them and played around with them. And it's not for me, I don't think. And if they can pull off, what were they up to? Like a few $1 million after yesterday.
By now, I'll just check the website right now and see what their Kickstarter is at. Their initial funding was $500,000. They're up to $9.7 million.
Yeah. So good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think this is people wanting a cool new device, as opposed to what some people are saying, oh, this is a competitor to the Apple Watch. I don't think it really is.
Well, sure it will be. Yeah, of course. It will be, but I think that people have seen what companies like Samsung can put out for a watch, and I don't think that they're satisfied.
Yeah.
And then you see a company like Pebble, and people like the underdog. And, clearly Pebble is the underdog in this market now that Apple has entered it. And I think that they're willing to pay for a good product. And that's why I like the thought of Kickstarter, because it's for those people who want to pay for having the product that they want. And if Pebble gets, $10 million for when they ask for $500,000, bonus. I'd be drunk for a month if people gave me $10 million.
Just a month, huh?
I would. And then I'd embezzle the rest of the money and say I never made my thing, and I'd be gone.
You know what? You and I are the same. I could not be trusted with a Kickstarter. There's no way you could trust me with a Kickstarter. I'd be the same way, man. Oh, sorry, not gonna make it. Boom! I'm in Cabo, dude.
I'm telling you, I'd be gone. You'd never hear from me again.
So we should be.
And everybody that donated money, I'd totally send you a postcard.
So we should be suspicious of any Kickstarters for the Loop magazine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit. Whatever you do, don't contribute to that.
Don't contribute to that. Unless you want to piss the money away. It just. But now you said something interesting, that you said the Pebble Watch isn't for you. Now you are getting into, if not fitness, you're getting into a little bit of a healthier lifestyle. You're walking more. Why wouldn't the Pebble Watch be for you?
I didn't like what I saw the first time.
Yeah.
I understand that people, they have different ways of building apps for it and doing all kinds of things, but it just seemed kind of. It wasn't very sexy, I didn't think.
I agree.
And I'm a sexy guy, and I need sexy accessories. So there you go.
Just waiting for the audience. Yep, yeah, there it is. There, the barf, cough. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking too. Arcsign wants to know, Shawn, ask Jim if Apple could possibly go the route of selling the Apple Watch Edition by invitation only, a la American Express.
They could. I don't know if they would or not, because, the people that can afford it are, it'd be funny to see Kobe Bryant standing in line at the Apple store to get the edition.
Yeah.
That'd be funny as hell. I'd love to see that. I'd be taking pictures.
I think for me, the most interesting aspect of all this, I think I've mentioned it before in Amplified and on YML in the past, is the idea of how is Apple going to sell this. This is completely different from any other marketing campaign they've ever had for a product. Not just for the Apple Watch itself, but for the Apple Watch Edition. Where is this going to be sold? How is it going to be sold? I can't see the average everyday Apple specialist in the store selling the Watch Edition. It just doesn't feel like the place you'd go to drop $20,000 on a watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they may have one or something at those stores just to show.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. But it does seem like these are going to be more high-end type stores.
Yeah.
And when you go in, when you need an appointment to walk into a place to shop, you will probably find an Apple Watch among the accessories that you can buy. I mean, I forget where I was. It was somewhere down in L.A. Years ago, and Rodeo Drive or Wilshire Boulevard or something like that. And there was a guy standing at the door, blocking the door, in a black suit. And he was so big that it looked like somebody parked a Cadillac up front. You know, and he was just standing there because, you know, you need an appointment to walk in. Not that I was going to walk in there anyway, but that's how they shop. You go in with an appointment, and, you know, a fashion person walks around with you, and holy jeez. I mean, no, I don't need a fashion person to get a pair of jeans.
Yeah, I had the same experience in the Tiffany store on Fifth Avenue in New York. My first time there, we were walking up the street, and I saw the Tiffany store. And I thought, oh, that'd be kind of neat to go into the Tiffany store. And they have that double security thing where they have the first door, and then they have the second door that doesn't open until the first door has closed behind you. And there's a great big huge security guard. I'm a big guy. This guy's bigger than I am by a large measure, and much blacker than me. And he's standing there, and I didn't know about this double security door thing. And I pulled in the door, and it, you know, gave you that little jiggle thing. And I was like, that's kind of odd. I looked inside the store, and the security guy looked at me and just gave me a head shake, like, no. I was like, okay. And I walked away because I was, you're right. You can look at me and know I'm just wasting your time. I'm in jeans and a t-shirt. I'm just going to be wasting your time walking in the store. I completely understand you discriminating against me. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I'm good with that. Interesting. Our friend Hiker BC just got his April edition of Vogue magazine. There's a 12-page advertising spread in April Vogue. I didn't know that. It's a pretty multi-page ad with very nice images and very few words.
Well, I posted about it today, so if you had read the site, you would have known.
Dick. What are you going to be like that for?
Yeah, and it's a very, very nice Apple-esque spread.
Yeah.
It's all about the product. There, it's not filled with crazy words and stuff that you need to read. It's the product.
Yeah.
And that's how Apple does things. The product speaks for itself. And in this ad, it certainly does. Speaks for itself.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through the Mac rumor story about it now, and it's just big, huge pictures of the watch, the watch bands and the watch faces. Man, 12 pages
and
of that.
And the rest of the page is blank.
Yeah.
It's the product.
Yeah.
That's what matters. And that's why Apple advertising works. Look at the rest of the ads in that book, and it'll be, all kinds of words and why it's so good and all that. No. Picture of the product. Boom, done.
Let's move on to, we didn't get a chance to talk about this last week because I had issues with my MacBook, and we had to cancel last week's show, but there's an interesting New Yorker piece. Could Johnny Ive pull off an Apple car? That's a dumb question, isn't it?
Well, Johnny Ive can pull off anything he wants.
Exactly. It's not like Ive can only ever design computer products. He started off designing all kinds of different things. Famously, he designed toilets for one company that he worked for in the UK. So there's no reason to believe that Johnny Ive couldn't design a car itself.
Well, and let's not forget that Mark Newsom designed a concept car for Ford.
Yeah, but that was in 1999. That doesn't count.
Still,
and
he's got the experience too.
But sure, true, he has experience. But the other aspect of that, and me, I'm looking always trying to tone this stuff down. It's not that hard to design a car. As kids, we doodled in our notebooks in grade 9 math, and we designed our own cars. Didn't you draw cars when you were a kid? Made up your own designs of cars?
Most of us didn't make it to grade 9 math college mode.
But I mean, designing a car, the exterior of a car, is really not that hard a thing to do.
I don't agree with you at all.
No.
I don't agree with you at all.
That's it?
Not at all.
You just leave it there?
Well, I said it this morning. You're just stupid.
But that was a whole different aspect of my stupidity.
Yeah, I'm just going to carry that right over.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Generic. What I keep asking people is, what do they expect Apple to fix in a car? Apple's not just going to do another car like everybody else. What are they going to fix in and of itself when it comes to a car? They're not going to put an extra wheel on it. They're not going to change the steering wheel to a click wheel. There are some things about the car they cannot change, right?
There's a lot they can, though.
But isn't the things they can the things they don't need to? To me, this feels very much like the Apple TV. There's no need for Apple to develop a whole HD TV when they can develop a box that attaches to your HD TV.
It's not the TV that Apple needs to fix. It's the cable companies that Apple needs to fix. And that's why the Apple TV isn't, the gigantic product that it could be.
Yeah.
Because of the cable companies. They need to break them. Once they break them, Apple TV will take off like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
But how are they going to do that? And, if you look at what Netflix is doing, Netflix is getting in, taking on broadcast now. I mean, that's the type of help that Apple needs. It's the type of help that everybody needs because, whatever Netflix does is going to help Apple. And, when I look at shows that are coming out, new series and stuff, I like the new series from Netflix, the new series from Amazon. I don't look to cable TV for new series. Those things suck. Oh, they suck.
Yeah, it's interesting too that we're not seeing much innovation from the people we've been expecting over time to get our innovation from. Now we're looking for disruption from people outside of the industry, and I certainly believe Apple can do that. Apple can easily disrupt the car industry, but I don't think they can disrupt it with their own vehicle. I still think Apple will disrupt the car industry through technology of the dashboard, of, as people have been saying in the IRC chat room, of the user interface itself.
Sure, they could do that too. I mean, the car. I mean, you could have said the same thing in 2006 about the phone. So sure, Johnny Ive can design a phone, but what needs to be fixed? I mean, you have a keypad and you dial it and talk to somebody. Yeah. What really needs to be fixed? And especially when it was released and it was, oh my God, like $500.
Yeah.
$500 for a phone. Wow. People poo-pooed it all over the place. But the fact is there was a lot that needed to be fixed. And, I think that Apple has its finger on the technology of what can be changed in a lot of different products, including Apple TV. It's just a matter of getting those incumbents out. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if the cable companies did somehow break, and I can't see that happening under the current circumstances because the cable companies also own all of the big stations like HBO and Showtime and USA Network and all of those. So they own all of those as well. So, they're not going to give it up. But if they could, I'd be subscribing to Apple TV channels.
Yeah. The disruption aspect of the Apple car, I think one of the reasons why we're assuming a full-blown car is because, remember, Apple did build a full-blown model of the Apple retail stores when they were testing that out, too. We've heard the stories of Apple had a warehouse in California where they would had full-scale mock-ups. I think they're doing the same thing with the car. They're building full-scale mock-ups of whatever it is so they can drive their user interface around places to see how the user interface works. That's why it's the people saying it's going to be a self-driving electric minivan. That's idiotic. If Apple if Apple developed a car, the first one wouldn't be a frickin' minivan.
I hope not.
There's no chance of Apple building a self-driving electric minivan. That's stupid.
God. I'd have to, report on something else that day.
Here's a question. If it were possible, why wouldn't Apple just buy Tesla?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, Tesla has a lot of things.
It seems the most logical thing for Apple to do, doesn't it? Elon Musk
maybe
is...
Maybe they don't want to be stuck with Elon.
You could make Elon the president of a whole new division of the company, very much like FileMaker. FileMaker's owned by Apple, but they're a wholly owned subsidiary that does their own thing. Do that with Tesla.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know why they wouldn't if they're getting into the car business.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't even know if they're getting into that.
Yeah.
And like I said this morning, all of the hires that they've made in the automobile industry lately would seem to say that they're serious about that market, but we just don't know in what way.
Yeah.
So, maybe Tesla isn't an option because they don't want to make a whole car.
Yeah. That's the other thing.
Maybe they're going to give parts and pieces to every car company so that every car has a piece of Apple in it.
Yeah. I think that's what leads me to believe the most that Apple's not going to be doing their own branded Apple car is exactly that. Because if Apple wanted to jump into this market feet first, and with, as people in the IRC chat room are saying, ArcSign says no way that Apple wants to enter any low-end segment, even if that segment starts at $15,000. Apple's going to make a luxury car. They're going to make a high-end car. Their car, if they're going to make a car, it's going to cost at least $100,000 right out of the block, and that's a Tesla. That seems to be the perfect market for them. And Elon Musk has said he likes Apple. He likes Steve Jobs. He likes the way Apple does things. So if Apple wanted to build a car, they've got the money. Elon Musk says, "Oh, Tesla's not for sale." Bullshit. You throw enough money at him, he'll sell Tesla.
Yeah, everything's for sale. I'm for sale.
Exactly, and a lot cheaper than Musk too.
Well, I don't know about that.
You can be bought for Musk.
I'll look at any and all offers.
No offers will be refused out of hand. We will definitely think about any offer that you might have.
Yep.
We talked about this on Amplified this morning, and let's expand a little bit more. I generally don't celebrate the anniversaries of dead people because they're dead. But yesterday was the birthday of Steve Jobs, and it made me think about him a lot yesterday. It made me think about where we are as Mac users, where we are as a Macintosh community, where the industry is, and think about how much I enjoyed being in a world that had Steve Jobs in it. That he made a lot of what I do fun and possible, and just enjoy. I made friends because of Steve Jobs through these computers, through the activities I've done that have involved Steve Jobs. I met him on several occasions and talked to him briefly several other times, and always enjoy talking to him. People were intimidated by him, but I wasn't intimidated by him because I wasn't working for him, so he didn't scare me. His intensity was wonderful. Did Jobs intimidate you, Jim?
I don't know if it was intimidating. I had so much, and still do, so much respect for Steve. And a lot of the things that people call Steve out on, for being an ass or whatever, I respected him a ton for.
Yeah.
Just because nobody else had the balls to stand up and say the things that Steve did. And he would tell you straight up, you suck.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to respect somebody like that, especially when they have the background that Steve did in releasing good stuff.
Yeah.
So if Steve said your product sucks, well, okay, it sucks then.
That's right, exactly.
Good enough.
Mosquito in the IRC chat room says, Jobs is someone whose life I feel inclined to celebrate. He made too much of my career possible to ignore.
Yeah, exactly. Mine too. I mean, I started writing about Apple when they were still beleaguered. Steve wasn't even there at that point, and I still had a tremendous respect for the man. And when he came back, I mean, that was huge, huge.
People don't
But
realize how awful it was to cover Apple, at least at the high end, with Spindler and Emilio and the Diesel and those guys. They were just. I know nothing about being a CEO of a major corporation, but even I knew they sucked. Even I knew those guys couldn't do their job properly. It was awful covering them.
Covering Apple in the mid '90s was like what it would be covering BlackBerry today.
Yeah, good point. You're right.
That's what it would be like. It's just awful.
There was very little fun coming out of the corporate offices of Apple. Now there are people doing cool things in the late '90s with Macintosh, and that's what got me into doing Your Mac Life and variations thereof. But when we had to report on what the corporation was doing, it was tedious. I still remember that 3-hour keynote that Gil Emilio gave. It was just like, I wanted to just claw my ears off so I could stop listening to the man. He was terrible.
Yeah.
He was tedious to listen to.
Awful.
Who was it? It
awful,
was Scully. Was Spindler? Was Michael Spindler the German? And then there was somebody else.
I don't know.
And then there was Emilio, but there was someone else in there. That group of 4 that were just painful.
Well, they were businessmen. They weren't, creatives. They, like Stephen was. They could think. They could see into the future. That's what it felt like with Steve. And when Steve would do a keynote, it was like he was taking you on a trip into the future, and this is why you need the great thing that we have.
Yeah.
And nobody else could do that. Not only from Apple, but nobody at any other company, and they still can't. Yeah. They try. Yeah. They try and copy, Apple's keynotes, and they just can't do it. It's painful to watch.
I think that's the key, is that they're businessmen, and unlike Jobs, they don't seem to be able to convey their love of technology and the potential of technology and their own products. It always feels like they're just doing what the marketing company tells them to do. Make sure you hit this marketing bullet, hit this one. And there's no real emotion there. That even if, the old George Burns lines was, the most important thing in business is sincerity. Once you can fake that, you got it made. Even if Jobs even if Jobs is faking sincerity, we still believed him. We still trusted him, and that's why I think we all feel this way about this guy who passed away 4 years ago.
Well, and I think that's why we like watching the Johnny Ive videos too. Yeah. Besides the fact that we like watching them pronounce aluminium, we like listening to Johnny because we believe Johnny.
Yeah.
We believe that what he did was for all the best reasons. We want to believe everything he said. He could come out and say that, today I tilted the Earth's axis so my house could get more sun. Wow, cool, Johnny.
Yeah, a lot of these guys don't get how much trust means to the consumer. They just don't seem to understand that idea that we will buy products from companies we trust, and we will continue to buy from companies we trust.
But that trust has been earned too because they make good products.
Yeah, that's right.
And that trust can be broken very easily.
Agreed.
One bad iPhone release, and they're going to be dirt.
Yep. So when are we going to see beard T-shirts?
I should do that.
Dude, I've been bugging you for years to bring out beard T-shirts.
I know.
You're leaving money on the table. You got great designers. You got people that are volunteering to help you. You've got great designers for the Loop magazine. Dude, you got to get T-shirts. Come on.
I know.
Folks, Jim and I and the lovely and talented Dave Mark did Amplified this morning, so please check it out on the iTunes Store or go to loopinsight.com. We've got a link there to the 5x5.tv section of for Amplified, so please check that out. Review it on the iTunes Store. Send us emails. I'll do all kinds of stuff to let us know what you think about Amplified. Dave, Jim Dalrymple from The Loop, thanks for joining me, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Shawn.
Have a good night. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks very much to Jim for being on the show. And make sure I cut him off. There we go. He's gone. There was this company from Toronto that sent me an email. And because they were from Toronto, I went, no. I was kidding. They're called LD West, ldwest.com. Unfortunately, because of the one screen setup I have here, I can't show you their website anymore. But you can go to ldwest.com, click on Shop in the upper at the top menu bar, and they have this thing called an LD West holster. And when they first approached me about it, I thought that looks kind of douchey. I don't know if I want to wear a holster for my wallet and my iPhone. Now, some of you know, hang on, let's see if I can find it. Here we go. Some of you have known the problems I have experienced with other all-in-one type iPhone cases. You know, where your business cards and your credit cards go inside the case. Because I've lost 3 of these things. And when you lose these, you lose everything. Rather than losing just your iPhone or just your wallet, you lose your iPhone and your wallet simultaneously. It's awful. Luckily, I've gotten it back all 3 times. But, so I've given up. As you can see, this thing is empty. I've given up using the all-in-one holster type things. It's just, I'm an idiot. I keep losing this stuff. I keep leaving it behind in cabs or in hotels or in friends' cars. So I've stopped doing that. So when these LD, I guess I said something on Twitter, and the LD West folks said, hey, you want to try this? I checked out the website, went, oh, man, that just doesn't look like my kind of thing. You know, I'm just not a holster kind of guy. And then I went out riding my motorcycle one day, and I'm happily riding the motorcycle. And as usual, I have my iPhone in the pocket of my motorcycle jacket, in the outside pocket, and it starts to rain. And I think, well, I've got a leather jacket. It's protected. The phone will be just fine. So at some point, I stop, and I pull my phone out to see who's called me or what messages I have. And my phone is wet with condensation. It's not wet from rain, but it's wet from moisture in general. I'm like, oh my God, dry up my phone. And I realized that having the phone outside the clothing can happen to me. So when the LD West guy said, you want to try this out? I thought, okay, yeah, now I've got a reason to want to try this out. So they sent one to me, and I'm wearing it now. For those of you who think I'm wearing suspenders, I am not wearing suspenders. I am wearing the LD West Duke of Burgundy. $119, $120 to be honest with you. I'll post that in the IRC chat room of which one I am wearing. These are limited. No, that's so. I'm sorry. No, that's not the one I'm wearing. That one's much prettier. Hang on. The original in tan. My apologies. I'm wearing the original in tan. So they send. There's a great video on the website that shows how to put this on. You think kind of, well, I need a video to put it on because there's a lot of buckles and belts and bows on this thing, and I'm kind of clumsy this way. So I watched the video, laid it out on my kitchen table, and put it together. And the first thing you do is you put it on, like you've seen TV shows with cops where they throw their gun holster over their heads. And the first time you do that, you hang yourself. There's a very real danger of getting these ropes all tied around your neck. So it takes a little bit of practice. You have to focus on where the logo is in the back and where these things are going to sit on your body. And you have to fiddle around with a bit. You can see in the video there's the typical suspender buckles. And so you have to slide it up and down to get the right fit. Now, the LD West guys say you should have the front of the holsters on either side facing down a little bit. I wasn't all that crazy with this. So mine are kind of even, maybe even a little upwards. So the next thing I did was went out riding the motorcycle with a wallet. By the way, here's the wallet that comes with the LD West holster, and it's a very nice wallet. I got to tell you, I really like the wallet. It's got their logo in it, and I hate logo stuff, but the logo is embossed. It's very subtle. It's not real easy to see the LD West logo, and it's big enough. It's a billfold wallet, so it's big enough to carry all the credit cards and driver's licenses and rewards cards and that kind of stuff that I want to carry. Whereas some of the other smaller all-in-ones won't carry that much stuff. The only downside of it is it's not big enough to easily carry money in the side pocket. But that's okay. I have no money, so it's not a problem. But also I'll have receipts in there and other things. It's easy to get to stuff. Even with motorcycle gloves on, I can pull my credit card out of the LD West wallet. Really easy to do that. Unfortunately, like a lot of other wallets, with 6 different slots, I lose stuff all the time. I go to Save On and I can't find my frickin' Save On rewards cards. So I have to open up every one of these things. That's not good. So it very easily, you can see here in the video, here's the holster for the wallet. And it just slips in fairly simply. It takes a little bit of practice to learn. You have to tuck in your elbow and then slide it in like that. And then it slides in. You push it all the way through. There's a nice little clasp here that's magnetic. And it snaps closed. Really easy to use. Other side's the same for the iPhone 6. Now, I thought I was going to get an iPhone 6 in time for this review, and I haven't yet. So my iPhone 5, but the iPhone 5 fits in there just fine. Just a little, obviously, looser. But it goes in there just as easily as the other one. So off-riding on the motorcycle, I put this on. Now, the first thing is you notice that there's something under your armpits. And that, for some people, that might be a little bothersome. Didn't bother me at all. Once I got used to it, it wasn't that much of a problem. These things aren't that thick. You're not walking around with your elbows in the air like that. It's just sort of snug. And even with my full motorcycle gear on, there was no problem with this. This rig is all small enough that it fits easily underneath my motorcycle jacket. And the other thing is, it kept my iPhone dry. That was one of the most important things for me, because I would have my wallet in my back pocket, and if it was wet enough, it would get wet. And now it doesn't, because it's on the inside of my jacket. It's on the inside of 2 layers of jackets. So the wallet's not going to get wet. The iPhone's not going to get wet. The other aspect of this, I don't know if they say it on their website, universal fit. There's something about the leather of these things. Let me find out if I can't accommodate leather, bulging pockets. They don't say anything about the leather. It's very nice feeling leather. It's very. It's not supple leather. It's not jacket leather. It's not that soft, but it feels nice. It looks nice. It's a lovely color. They've got a bunch of different colors on their website. If you go to ldwest.com, this one's the tan. There's a red one. There is a gray one, brown, a whole bunch of other colors for the wallets. Check them out. Now, this is expensive. There's no doubt about it. $120 for this thing? That's expensive. I don't know if I'd buy one for myself. The other aspect of it, too, is that you walk around and you kind of look like you're carrying a gun, which, depending on where you live, may be a good thing, maybe a bad thing. I don't know. You have to decide on that yourself, on where you live, whether or not it's okay to walk around. I've had friends say, Are you packing heat, dude? What the hell's going on? but it's just a very comfortable way of transporting my wallet and my iPhone at the same time. Now, I don't wear it all the time every day. If you look at their website, LD West, they seem to be portraying this as more of a, I don't want to say hipster because that makes it seem more pejorative than it is, but a more of a young, urban, hip, cool kind of guy, which I'm not. Sorry. So I don't know if I'd wear this every day. I do wear it when I ride the motorcycle. I like the feel of it with the motorcycle. It's easy to get to the things I need to with the motorcycle, and it protects them, keeps them dry, keeps them out of the elements. So I like wearing it with the motorcycle. I don't know if I'd wear it to a club or wear it to a baseball game or things like that. But it is a great way to transport your gear. It's interesting. It's different. Something that'll get people talking about you or to you, depending on their point of view. Mosquito says, now I'm picturing a montage of close-ups of Shawn suiting up with this thing in front of a mirror. I did have to sit in front of a mirror and practice, that's for sure, because you want to get these straps just right, because you don't want it, depending on your personal preference. I didn't want it up high in my armpit, but I wanted it down where it was still up against my body and not flopping around. So it did take a bit of time, probably, I would say at least 45 minutes to an hour of futzing with the straps to get them just right and putting it on and getting it all straight on the body. Brian Monroe, who carries money anymore? Credit cards all the way. Mosquito, the big doofuson, no lose it iPhone case. This might be the no lose it iPhone case. I agree. This might be, because I haven't lost it since. Mosquito, yeah, you wouldn't want to wear this around New York City cops. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it'd be that big of an issue around cops because they got guns too. And it's pretty obvious. I think it's more of an issue around people who aren't used to seeing people with holsters. If you're a cop, you recognize this instantly as not being a gun holster. You know this isn't going to be a gun holster. It doesn't have the right form or shape to it. But, it might be a concern for some people, something to think about. But if you're looking for something for a present for somebody who is a young, urban, hipster kind of guy, this might be the kind of thing you want to look at. ldwest.com is the website. So thanks very much to the folks at LD West for sending me their holster. It's kind of cool. I went out last week to the Academy Duello. Duello? I think it's how you say it. The website is learnswordplay.com. And as I mentioned on the show, these are guys who practice the European art of sword fighting, not fencing, but sword fighting with like broadswords and long swords and sticks and all kinds of cool weapons from the Middle Ages. And they put on shows around town. They'll be at the Celtic Festival in March here in Vancouver. So I asked permission, and they let us come down to shoot their performance team, practice shooting with my meetup group, my beginning photography meetup group. And it was interesting talking to the photographers. Again, these are beginning photographers. All of them had DSLRs. And the idea I presented to them was, let's go down and practice shooting people who are moving. And how do you do that? There's a different way of shooting motion than there is, obviously, of portraits or of a building. The first thing I told them was, just shoot. Just take a few pictures and look at the pictures afterwards. Take the pictures and then see whether you like them or not. And most of the time, you're not going to like them. We were in their studio. It was after dark, so we're just using their lighting in there. So all the pictures were dark, and all the pictures were blurry. Now, some of them might come out looking nice in blurry, but for the most part, that's not what you were looking for. So what you want to do, this is P. Booth. This is not the Society for Creative Anachronism. This is a whole different group of people. These guys are fighting with real weapons. So one of the important things of shooting movement is to anticipate that movement. You generally, for most of us beginners, don't have a camera that can capture the movement as you see it. We don't have cameras that are fast enough for that. We're using consumer level cameras. You don't have reaction times that are fast enough for that. So one of the things I told the students was just watch them for a bit. Just see what they're doing and see if you can anticipate where they're going to go, where they're going to swing that sword, where they're going to block and defend. And, the old Wayne Gretzky line, go to where the puck is going to be and not where it is. Focus on where they're going to be as opposed to where they are now. Make sure your camera is set to a shutter speed that can capture motion. And generally it's above 100th of a second. Much lower than that, you're going to start getting significant blur. And you can't handhold a DSLR and get it to be non-blurry, much less than that. Now, the pros can, but for most of us amateurs, we haven't practiced enough. I've seen pros that can do it at 1/60th of a second. And 1/60th of a second sounds like it's really fast. When you're shooting photography, it's actually not. It's fairly slow. You'll see a lot of blur at 1/60th. So I set my shutter speed to at least 1/100th and hopefully 1/250th. But what happens is with a shutter that opens and closes that fast, not a lot of light gets in. And this is where you need to know your camera. This is where you need to read your manual and know what the buttons mean and understand what the functions of your camera are. So I took a bunch of test shots at 1/100th of a second, 1/250th of a second, saw there wasn't enough light. I knew I couldn't go slower because then I'd get blur. So in those conditions, that's where you start playing around with ISO. And ISO, we've said it on the show before, if you ever shot film back in the days of film, you'll recognize the number ISO 100 or ISO 400 or even ISO 800. And what those numbers were represented was the sensitivity of the film to light. The higher the ISO, the more sensitive it was to light, and the less light you needed to shoot under. Well, nowadays cameras go to well above ISO 800. All my shots are generally taken at about ISO 400, and then I bump it up from there. I'll go to 800, and then 16, and then 32. My camera can shoot usable ISO up to 12,800 ISO. Much more than that, it gets real blurry, real grainy. So that's what you do. You find your shutter speed, and then you notice that it's blurry. You up the ISO until you start getting good shots. The other thing you want to do is, I mentioned off the top of the show, is you have to learn to move your body with the camera in order to capture a lot of this motion if you're not using a tripod. If you're using a tripod, obviously you're okay, but if you're trying to shoot handheld, and one of the things you have to learn, and it takes practice, is learning to what's called pan, which is move your body, move the camera, move your upper body. So you make a good base with your feet. Usually you have one foot forward and the other foot a little wider. And make sure you can twist your body from the waist to the left and to the right. And the easiest way to practice this is to do it with cars. Go out onto your local street, and as a car comes by, focus on the car, and as it moves in front of you, don't move your feet, move your waist. So turn your torso, turn your shoulders with the camera, holding it very steady, keeping your elbows in tight to get as much steadiness as you can. Turn yourself into a tripod, basically, and then move your body, your upper body with the camera, shooting along the way. What you should get is also keep it in burst mode too. So learn what burst mode is. Don't try to get one shot. Just hold the shutter down and take a bunch of shots. What you should get is somewhere along that chain of images that you took, one or two, probably in the middle, where the car will be in nice sharp focus and your background will be really blurry. That's what you're shooting for in panning shots, because it gives that really neat illusion of motion in a static shot when the car is in focus and the background is nice and blurry. Do it with kids that are running. Do it with birds or dogs or horses, whatever you have around you that's moving left to right. You can also do it up and down, but it's harder to do it up and down. Practice left and right. The important thing is to anticipate where the thing is going to be. So what I was doing is I was watching the swordplay guys, and they were doing the same motion. They were practicing, so they're doing the same motion over and over again. So I'd watch them for 2 or 3 times, and then I'd focus on where they were going to be, wait for them to start the motion again, and then hold the shutter down and get 5, 6, 7 shots. And hopefully one of the middle shots was in focus, was a good shot. I took 300 pictures at the Academy in an hour, and I got 5 good pictures. That's the other thing you have to get used to. Not every picture you take is going to be a good picture. You're going to take a lot of crappy pictures. It's just the nature of learning. If you're a basketball player, you're going to take a lot of crappy foul shots. If you're a hockey player, you're going to miss the net a whole bunch when you're practicing. Don't get down on yourself for not having every shot be a winner. The pros don't have every shot be a winner. So don't beat yourself up over the fact that you took 300 pictures and only 5 came out. It's a pretty good ratio, actually. It's not bad. I was happy with the 5 shots that came out. I missed some. I looked at them and I thought, oh, okay, what did I do wrong there? Oh, the ISO wasn't set right, or the shutter wasn't right, or I didn't pan properly, or whatever it might be. So don't beat yourself up about the bad shots. Learn from the bad shots and learn how to make them better the next time around. So give that a try next time you're out shooting motion. Put your shutter speed at no less than 100. Increase your ISO if it's dark. If you're out in bright, if you're on a beach or bright sunny days, don't worry about that. But then start practicing that panning motion, that moving your shoulders and your waist as if your torso was just one object along with your camera. Give that a shot and see if that works for you. As always, we encourage you guys to send us emails. You can get hold of us via the email at onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Want to find out what you guys are talking about. Let us know what you think about the Apple car, whether you think Apple's going to make an actual car or not. Or how would you fix the car? What would you do to your car or someone else's car to make it better? What do you think a car needs in order to be a better car? Apple Watch prices. Do you think the Apple Watch Edition, the gold version, will be $5,000, $10,000, $20,000? I said off the top that it was going to be at least $5,000, probably closer to $10,000. I stand by that. I think Apple's going to sell a $10,000 watch. I think it's going to happen. Our friend Jason Painter down there in Australia, Sydney, Australia, said, something you said on YML recently struck a chord with me. You were saying how the human eye is better than the camera, and you adjust your Lightroom settings to more closely match what you saw. He says, I'm taking that to heart, and I'm learning new ways to optimize the image to show what I think it needs to show. I mentioned I'm going to have to move from Aperture to Lightroom. I'm trialing Lightroom at the moment and thought it would be a big learning curve, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. It seems the familiarity with Aperture tools and the concepts behind a professional image management application stood me in good stead. Lightroom, of course, supports the camera raw from my camera, which is something Aperture never did, so I'm shooting raw again. It's such a relief to have the increased amount of image detail at the editing stage. Curious as to whether you bought Lightroom outright as a retail pack or through a Creative Cloud subscription. I don't like the idea of paying regularly, so I'm inclining towards an outright purchase, unless there's a compelling reason for Creative Cloud. Thanks. The only compelling... I have a retail pack. I have a standalone copy of Lightroom 5. The only compelling reason I would say for Creative Cloud is Photoshop, is having access to the other tools of the cloud. And I'm not a Photoshop user. I'm not an InDesign user. I'm not a user of Adobe's other products. So to me, I didn't see the point in paying the monthly fee. Some folks don't mind it. I know there's a lot of pros out there who don't mind paying the monthly fee for the Creative Cloud. That's fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Just it's not the thing for me. Because I don't use, my logic is because I don't use the other tools when it comes to the other applications Adobe has. I don't like using Photoshop for my photos. Photoshop is a pixel editor. Lightroom is a photo editor. I don't need to change the pixels on my photos. I don't need to get into that level of detail to change my photos. Photoshop is a great program. It's just celebrated its 25th birthday, and congratulations to the folks at Adobe. It's an amazing application, possibly. It's certainly the most complicated application I've ever used. I know there are more complicated ones out there, but for me, it's the single most complicated piece of software I've ever had to use. And I don't need to use it. Lightroom does what I want it to do in the way I want it to do it. So that's why I use Lightroom. Gary Apter says, as a member of the Boise, Idaho Photo Walk Meetup group, I attended a workshop on Lightroom 5 recently. I was interested to hear someone say that they import, edit, delete out of Lightroom their images. I asked about this and was told that this isn't an application to view endless photos. What is the application to be home for my tens of thousands of images so I can see them and show them to anyone visiting my home? I have photo and aperture, but I know they are destined to be history soon. Gary, if that's the way you want to look at your photos and share your photos is inside Lightroom, go ahead and do it. If Lightroom works for you, there's no reason why you wouldn't. Now, if I'm just going to show off photos, I would use Flickr. Flickr's free. It's got a decent enough slideshow capability. It's a very good search. You can set up different albums and collections. You can get Flickr on your Apple TV, so you could show off things on your television set. You can use it as a slideshow in the background at a party or friend's house. They've got a decent iOS app for uploading iPhone photos. So give Flickr a shot if that's what you want to do. Is if what you want to do is to show them off. People can. The other thing about showing them off in Flickr, you can just send them URLs. They don't have to be in your physical presence in order to see the images. So Gary, give Flickr a shot. Jason Painter also writes, I use a Fitbit Flex. We were talking about what kind of fitness tracking applications folks use. I use a Fitbit Flex and have a torturous process to get all my data into HealthBook. I wear the Fitbit day and night. At night, I put it into sleep tracking mode. I weigh myself on a Fitbit scale, which connects to the internet and uploads to Fitbit.com. I use the Fitbit iPhone app to sync my steps from the Fitbit to the Fitbit.com website. I refer to it to see how close I am to my daily step goal, 16,000 because he's trying to lose weight. It's pretty useless for tracking what I eat because there's no Australian database. So I use MyFitnessPal, which is excellent for this, and has the added bonus of integrating with HealthBook. It uploads my weight from Fitbit.com and kilojoules from MyFitnessPal to HealthBook. That's kind of cool. He says Fitbit is being stubborn and doesn't directly support integration with HealthBook, an act of arrogance I think will hurt them when the Apple Watch arrives. So the end result is all this data is in HealthBook, the most important of which are steps, weight, kilojoules, and sleep, which I have in my dashboard. Now, I grant that HealthBook is not currently very useful beyond storing this stuff, but that's an implementation detail that can evolve over time. For me, it's enough that I can see an overall result in HealthBook. When the Apple Watch arrives, I'll be there day one, and it will replace my Fitbit as my main device. At this stage, because we don't know how long it will take to charge, I'm going to assume I have to charge it overnight, so I plan to continue to use the Fitbit purely for sleep tracking, which it seems to do well. Now, this is preamble to the best part of this story. Jason says, I've lost 39 kilograms since September 2013. That's a year and a half, 39 kilos, 40 kilos, that's 84 pounds? He's lost 84 pounds in a year and a half. Good for you. He says he's lost 39 kilograms since September 2013 on my own simple plan of burning more kilojoules or calories than I eat for most of the week. It would not have been possible without quantifying my movement and food intake. We've talked about this before on the show. There's only one foolproof weight loss And that's to burn more calories than you ingest. That's the way you lose weight. The more calories you burn, the more weight you'll lose. I know that's simplistic. Don't email me. I know. But in general, that's what it is. And what he's doing is he's using technology to help him track this stuff, to keep track of it, and to know what's happening over time. I think it's great. Congratulations, Jason. That's fantastic. You are tracking that stuff and working on it that way. Michael Marino, our official optometrist of Your Mac Life, he says, I too, talking about photo backups, I too am a stickler for backups. I've never lost a file, knock on wood. Here's my photo backup plan. I use the Picture Life service. It's $15 a month for unlimited storage. I currently have 350 gigabytes of photos and videos stored there. I really like their iOS app as it has a Memories tab, which presents those photos that were taken on that day in years past. I have mine and my wife's iPhones backed up to it. She takes way more photos than I do, so I like the fact that I can see her photos just as easily as I can see mine. It backs up photos directly from phones as well as folders on my home computer where I dump any pics I take on my DSLR. All my photos are stored on a Western Digital MyCloud Mirror, which has 2 terabytes of RAID 1 storage. That folder is in turn backed up in the cloud with CrashPlan. Short of nuclear attack, I should be set. Michael Marino in Cary, North Carolina. Good for you, Michael. You've got a backup plan. That's the thing. You got to have a plan. If you don't have a backup plan, when, not if, when that bad thing happens, that's going to be utterly crushing to you, you'll come to your computer one day and it won't boot up. Or you'll go to a folder and find your kids have deleted it. Or you'll pick up that hard drive and find it won't boot. Or it won't run because you had a power spike in the evening that killed that hard drive. If you don't have a plan, you're screwed. And the plans are easy, especially for photos. There's all kinds of automated ways to do backups. Whether you use CrashPlan or Picture Life, as Michael does, or Flickr for backing your photos up, or iCloud, or Dropbox, or. There's all kinds of ways to do it, which is why I no longer have any sympathy for anybody who loses data. There's no excuse nowadays to lose more than a couple of days worth of data. There's so many ways to have data backed up automatically in multiple places. Like I said, I've got my stuff backed up on 3 separate hard drives within arm's reach and 2 separate online services. I've got 5 backups. If one of the crashes, I go, damn it, I'm going to waste an hour to restore this backup now. But I don't cry in my soup because I've lost photos or documents or invoices or email because it's all backed up. No sympathy if you lose data. We've been drilling this into your head for years, helping you, cajoling you, threatening you. Anyone who sends me an email and says, I lost my data, how do I get it back? I delete. I'm sorry, I'm not helping you. Do you have a backup plan? No. Delete. Go away. I refuse to help the maliciously stupid. If you just refuse to do backups, I'm not going to help you figure it out anymore. I just don't have the time and the patience for your stupidity. Fair? I think it's fair. Well, I say thanks very much to our friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com for joining us this evening. Thanks very much to the nice folks at LD West for letting me play around with this holster that I'm going to be using on the motorcycle on a regular basis this summer. Thanks very much to LD West for that. Thanks to you guys, whether you're tuning in live to the show or whether you're listening in via the archive. I always appreciate you guys for being tuned into the show. Until next week, as always, I've been Shawn King, and you're listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!